Legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
You're into the country illegally is violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way.
You know, Mr. Chair, I was looking, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where we take children out of mothers' and fathers' arms? And, it dated back, family separation in the way that we have seen it, where we take children away from their parents without due process, began last year under Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, but I had to dig further, and our staff dug further. But where did this start within the administration? She implemented it, and we found a memo. It dates back to April 23rd of 2018, where there was an official recommendation to, quote, pursue prosecution of all amenable adults who cross our border, quote, illegally, even though this applied to legal asylum seekers in practice, including those presenting with a family unit between ports of entry in coordination with DOJ. Here is the memo that I would like to submit to the congressional record. And so I looked at this memo, and it seems like this is the source of it. And it seems as though, Mr. Homan, that you are the author. It says here from yourself, Kevin Mikulinen, and Francis Cisna. Is this correct? Did you sign the memo?
I'd have to see what you...
I'd be happy to provide it. And we'll provide it over, but I would like to note that here it says the official recommendation. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. This initiative would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults, including those presenting with a family unit. Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his
Mr.
family.
Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the memo is submitted to the record for review.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's ignorance of U.S. immigration law was fully on display during her exchange with former ICE Director Tom Homan at a House oversight hearing. OOC's claim that anyone crossing the border illegally is automatically seeking asylum not only demonstrates her profound lack of understanding of the law, but also exposes her reckless approach to policymaking. It's alarming how someone in her position, holding public office and influencing national policy, can make such an egregious statement without even a basic understanding of the legal framework surrounding immigration. This is not just a minor slip-up, it's a blatant misrepresentation of U.S. law that could lead to disastrous consequences if it were to shape national policy. The reality is that crossing the U.S. border illegally is a crime. Under 8th U.S. Code 13025, individuals who enter the country without authorization are violating U.S. law. But instead of acknowledging this fact, AOC pushed a narrative that conveniently ignores the law and promotes a dangerous, incorrect understanding of the immigration process. Her claim that anyone crossing the border illegally is automatically entitled to asylum flies in the face of the very laws that govern the country. This is not a difference of opinion, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how immigration works. And that ignorance isn't just harmless. It directly contributes to the erosion of U.S. sovereignty, the weakening of the rule of law, and the further division of the country. AOC's stance on illegal immigration isn't an isolated incident. It reflects a disturbing trend within the Democratic Party, which has continuously pushed for policies that prioritize the needs of illegal immigrants over the interests of American citizens. One of the most glaring examples of this is the party's consistent advocacy for providing healthcare benefits to illegal aliens, including Medicaid. It's beyond comprehension that Democrats, under the leadership of people like AOC, believe that American taxpayers should foot the bill for healthcare services for people who are not legally in the country. This is not just a moral failing, it is a blatant fiscal irresponsibility that burdens American citizens and undermines the very principles of fairness and justice. Democrats' reckless pursuit of policies that benefit illegal immigrants at the expense of American citizens has become increasingly apparent. Their push for Medicaid for illegal immigrants, in particular, highlights their complete disregard for the struggles of working-class Americans who are already burdened by rising healthcare costs. Why should American citizens, many of whom are struggling to access affordable healthcare, be expected to pay for services for people who are breaking the law by entering the country illegally? AOC and her far-left colleagues would have you believe that providing healthcare to illegal immigrants is a moral imperative. In reality, it's an unsustainable, fiscally irresponsible policy that prioritizes non-citizens over citizens. The most egregious display of the Democratic Party's willingness to sacrifice American citizens for political gain was their involvement in the recent government shutdown. In an effort to pressure President Donald Trump into allowing Medicaid for illegal aliens, Democrats were willing to shut down the government, putting the livelihoods of millions of American workers at risk. The shutdown, which lasted over a month, cost the economy billions of dollars and disrupted government services that millions of Americans rely on. Yet, despite the harm caused to American citizens, AOC and her colleagues chose to prioritize the welfare of illegal immigrants. The question is, why? Why is the welfare of those who are breaking the law more important than the well-being of the American people? This willingness to harm American citizens to advance an agenda of open borders and illegal immigrant rights is nothing short of appalling. AOC and her far-left allies are not concerned with the well-being of their constituents. They are more interested in pushing a radical, misguided political agenda that panders to progressive activists. By using government shutdowns and other extreme measures, they have shown that they are willing to risk the stability of the nation for the sake of political points. This is not leadership. It is political opportunism at its worst. AOC's actions are a direct threat to the rule of law and the safety of American citizens. Her insistence on pushing for open borders, on providing taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal immigrants, and on undermining the integrity of U.S. immigration policy is a recipe for disaster. If the United States were to follow AOC's lead, it would open the floodgates for illegal immigration with no regard for national security, public safety, or the rule of law. The fact that AOC continues to support policies that encourage illegal immigration and provide benefits to those who are in the country unlawfully reveals her utter disregard for the needs and concerns of American citizens. In addition to undermining the law, AOC's position on illegal immigration shows a disturbing lack of empathy for the American people. For years, American citizens have been burdened with the consequences of illegal immigration, rising crime, overburdened social services, and pressure on the job market. Yet AOC's response is to double down on policies that only exacerbate these issues. Her radical stance on immigration is a slap in the face to every American citizen who has to deal with the consequences of these policies on a daily basis. What makes matters worse is that AOC and the Democrats are not just ignoring the concerns of American citizens, they are actively working to undermine the rule of law in the process. In her conversation with Homan, AOC's ignorance of the law was clear when she argued that crossing the border illegally is not a crime. Homan, a seasoned law enforcement professional, had to explain that crossing the border illegally is indeed a violation of U.S. law. Yet, instead of acknowledging this fact, AOC doubled down on her misguided beliefs. This shows a dangerous lack of respect for the law and a complete disregard for the realities of immigration. AOC's failure to recognize the importance of enforcing U.S. immigration law is a direct threat to the nation's security. If illegal immigration is allowed to run rampant, it undermines the very fabric of the country. The U.S. has laws in place for a reason: to maintain order, protect its citizens, and preserve the integrity of the nation. AOC's refusal to acknowledge the importance of these laws is not just irresponsible, it's dangerous. AOC's continued support for illegal immigration is not just a political disagreement, it's a direct attack on the rule of law, national security, and the well-being of American citizens. Her rhetoric is rooted in ignorance, and her policies reflect a complete lack of understanding of the challenges that illegal immigration presents to the United States. The question remains, why does AOC continue to prioritize the needs of illegal immigrants over the interests of American citizens? The answer is simple. Her radical political agenda is more important to her than the welfare of the American people. In conclusion, the actions of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the far-left Democrats have shown that they are more interested in appeasing progressive activists and pushing an open border agenda than they are in protecting the interests of American citizens. AOC's failure to understand the law, her willingness to risk the country's stability for political gain, and her insistence on undermining the rule of law represent a grave threat to the future of the United States. It's time for Americans to recognize the danger that AOC and her colleagues pose to the nation and to demand policies that prioritize the safety and well-being of U.S. citizens over the interests of illegal immigrants.